everybody. Happy New Year. It is 2025. Can you even believe? I can't even believe, first of all, that we are in the year of our Lord and Savior 2025. Hand and round of applause. We have made it. I am so thankful. This is actually season 6 of Dig Deep Conversations with Christian Leaders. Can you believe that it's been 6 seasons that we've been doing this show, that you've been listening? If you've been here since season 1, I need you to like, share, type it in the comments so I can shout you out. Send me a message, send me a note. I want to show you just so much appreciation if you've been here since day 1, or if you are just watching for the first time. Let me know. If you're listening for the first time, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Dr. Jaria Aljoe, your host for Dig Deep Conversations with Christian Leaders. And what is this all about? Well, it started off with a book that I published. It's called Dig Deep, Daily Guide to Becoming an Effective Christian Leader. And the focus was with this Facebook series, started out as kind of a way to launch the book. It was back during COVID. And so then we weren't able to kind of get together and do the things that we wanted to do. And so what I ended up doing was inviting different guests, different Christian leaders to come on to talk about different themes from the book. And from that was just birthed this entire Facebook Live and podcast series. So if you are listening to the podcast, shout out to you. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Make sure that you like, download, and subscribe. If you are watching this on Facebook Live, thank you so much. Again, please make sure that you share and tag all of your friends. And again, I'm Dr. Jaria Aljoe, author, leader, mentor, and change agent. With this new year, I wanted to start off the new year focusing on being restored, being renewed. A lot of times we go through the end of the year and things are just so busy. It's super hectic. But, we get through the end of the year, we get through the holiday season, and then we get to the new year. And it's like, okay, new year, new me, new year, new goals, new attitude, new perspective on life, which is great and amazing. And I thought about how we are made new as Christians, right? We are renewed, we are redeemed, we are restored. And so tonight's conversation, we are talking about exactly that. Actually, over the next few conversations, we're going to be talking with some folks who have unfortunately gone through, okay, plug your ears, saints, all you saints out there, plug your ears. I'm going to say that big D word, divorce. That's right. We're going to be talking about going through divorce as a Christian, not just going through, but being redeemed, being restored after divorce. Okay, so that's what we're going to be focusing on. I'm very excited to have my friend, my pal, my deacon, my friend, Deacon Courtney Wright is here. He's going to be talking about his experience. I'm so thankful that he said yes. So y'all make sure that you show love to Courtney as he comes on. Let's welcome Courtney. Hi, Courtney.
Hello. How you
How
doing,
are
Jaria?
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you
Good.
so much again for saying yes. I'm so delighted that you are here. Listen, we got to let the people in on the secrets. You got to tell them this is not what you do yet, right?
This is not what I do yet. Is absolutely right. I am very quiet and reserved, so this is out of my element.
Out of your element, but I feel like it's aligned with God's purpose for your life. Receive it. Okay.
I
So
receive it.
here's what we're gonna do. So I just want you, if you could please just tell our listeners just a little bit about who you are, what you do, and about your journey to becoming a Christian.
So as my friend Jaria said, I'm Courtney Wright. I am a native of New Haven, Connecticut, where I was born and raised. I have a 16-year-old son. I am a proud member of New Beginnings Kojic Church in New Haven, Connecticut, in Hamden, Connecticut, where my bishop is Bishop Robert L. Middleton and First Lady LaWanda Middleton. So I am a member there. I'm very family oriented, so I love my mom immensely. My siblings, I'm the third oldest of four. So I'm that middle child. So yeah, I have that middle child syndrome. I definitely have the middle child syndrome. But I'm a lover of God most of all. I'm one who loves God. I love the church. I love to serve the people of God. I love to work in ministry, any capacity that I find fit. So that's a little bit of who I am.
Awesome. Listen, that middle child, whew, I'm not the middle child. Um, Yeah, let's just throw a word of prayer up for
It,
anyone.
it's a lot.
Anyone. It's a lot.
It's a
Like, why
lot.
are y'all like that? I'm
I
just trying to understand.
I'm still trying to figure it out myself. We just are. We are. We are who we are.
You are who you are, and you know what? We love the middle children. All y'all, all that comes with that. Courtney, tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a Christian.
So I got saved in 1998. My first time I received Christ. The first time I received Christ was 1998. Um, my journey has been very, very not. I can't say different, but it's been a little peculiar. I've never. Once I got saved, I've always stayed in the church. I never not came to church, but there was a time where um I guess you could say I strayed away a little bit. I didn't like jump over the edge, but I kind of veered away a little bit. Um I went to a couple of churches. I got um found a home near. But it wasn't until it was honestly the last 4 or 5 years when I really um gave God my full yes. That's what I'll say. I gave God my full yes like 5 years ago. And since I gave him my full yes, I've seen the difference because I know where I was before. So I could tell the difference now.
Which I think is really important. It's always nice to hear that other people see a difference. You change, you're different, da, da, da. But also for you to know yourself, right? Because you live with yourself. There's
Mm-hmm.
no hiding from you.
Mm-mm.
And for you to be able to say, like, I see the difference that Christ has made in my life is incredibly important. So let's talk about, I invited you to come on the show because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk about, even though you are not yet remarried, and we will talk about that. But divorce is something that I feel like a lot of people, especially in church, just do not talk about. And so when I started thinking about, having guests on for this particular topic, your name came to my mind. And so again, I really just want to say thank you so much for saying yes. Because I know that this is a topic that, can sometimes be a little bit challenging to talk about. And you're wanting to do this. I shared with you offline, and so I'll share with you publicly as well. Is I feel like so many people can be helped by hearing your testimony, by hearing your experience and what you did, especially as a man. I think a lot of times society will focus on the woman and in her healing journey, and that's very important too. But we also don't talk about the man side of things. So can you tell me a little bit about how did your faith in God help you through the emotional pain of divorce?
So if I did not have God and have faith, I knew I wouldn't be here today. Um I've been divorced for 10 years now. I've been divorced for 10 years. Um and this is honestly the first time I'm really ever talking about it. Never really talked about my divorce. I talked to a couple of people about things here and there. Um but my faith, it really showed me that even when going through pain, you're going to gain some rewardment, some fulfillment through pain. So if I didn't have my faith, I would have stayed in pain. 'Cause I wouldn't have known to go to God. I wouldn't have known to understand God, to go to talk to my pastor, to trust. Um, Trust is very important when going through things like that. So I had to be very, very strategic on who I talked to and when I talked. So yeah, so that's how my faith played a part in it.
And would you say that, because you said something I think that's really important, very strategic about who to talk to and when to talk. Can you talk a little bit more about the when to talk part? Because I think sometimes we know sort of who we can talk to, who we can trust, who we can confide in. But I think we don't always know when is the most appropriate time or the right time. So can you kind of walk me through like your mindset about how did you determine when it was time to kind of talk about some of the things that you were going through?
So for me, it was when I felt healed. When I felt like I could I could talk about it and not be ashamed, not be hurt, not have a little still feel hurt from it. That's when I knew it was safe and when it was time. So that's why when you asked, I was like, yeah, it's time, because this is what I've been working on me personally for the last year and a half or so. So it was like perfect timing for me to do this.
I love that. And I love to hear that, you're working on yourself. And I think one of the things that we're starting to see a lot more, not just in church, but also in the Black or African American community, is men in particular taking care of themselves mentally, going to counseling, going to therapy, where years ago, I don't think I know it's not something that we would have seen. And so thinking of men that I know that have gone through divorce, they said, that's what led me to counseling, right? Like that's what led me to therapy. Can you just talk a little bit about your role or what role the church community played during your divorce and during the recovery process?
So for me, the church really, I'm trying to figure out how to say it. I had to be very cautious of the people I talk to in the church community, because sometimes we can be very judgy, very opinionated. And at some point, I wasn't looking for anybody's opinion. I was looking for somebody to hear, just to hear me. So I did find it. I found it here at New Beginnings. I found my Bishop Middleton. He hears me and he listens to me. So he's the one who really helped me get to where I am now, with therapy. But he's really been a sounding board, a ear for me. So just finding that person you could communicate with and trust. So that's the role that was played for me.
And I think what I'm also hearing is, being mindful that even though people might not always be malicious, it might not be sort of evil intent, um, to hear what you're saying and to offer up their opinions. It's important to know who in the church you can go to for that sort of wise counsel and that spiritual counsel. It sounds like you found that in your spiritual leader.
Absolutely. I did. We also got to be careful of what you take from everybody. You can't take
Mm,
word. You have to learn to hear but not receive sometimes. Sometimes people mean well, but sometimes it's not always, they don't say it I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes
absolutely.
people don't know how to say stuff.
Right,
Um,
right,
so that's another thing that I've learned. I'm very cognizant on how people say things and listen to how
right.
they say it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I think there was a girl at my church and she had been missing Bible study and, all this other stuff. And I think one person approached her and was, not really mindful about how they said things. And I remember when I approached her and we were talking about whatever, and I was like, I really miss seeing you at Bible study. Like, I hope everything's okay with you. I love seeing you on Sundays, but it's just, I just miss your presence at Bible study. And she said, Jaria, I really appreciate the way that you said that. And she had talked about the other person that came up to her
Mhm.
and basically told her the same thing, but not in that same delivery.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just appreciate the way that you said that. And so I think
Yeah.
it's important, sometimes, like you said, sometimes you're not looking for people's opinions, you're looking to just be heard. And the way people say things and how they respond is also something to keep in mind as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you talk to me or talk to our listeners a little bit about your journey, in finding a therapist? and just feeling free to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. But maybe some tips or advice or things to look out for anyone in particular, specifically men that are listening tonight that might be a little bit hesitant to go to therapy.
Sure. So my my journey with therapy, I've been to 4 therapists. I've had 4 therapists in my life. And I realized that the other 3 therapists didn't work for me because I didn't work for the therapist. I wasn't honest. I wasn't honest. If you're going to therapy, you have to first be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with the therapist, and you have to be ready. If you're not ready to deal with the things that come with therapy, you just need to wait. It's not a sit down today and get healed today. It's an ongoing process. You're gonna bring up things you didn't realize that you were still dealing with from when you was a child. There were things I've suppressed from when I was a child that I've never even talked to my parents about. And my mom would probably just be hearing this now, for her first time. That there's things that I suppressed, that I I've always been very reserved and very quiet. But I've realized that with going to therapy, that sometimes that's a hindrance, because you have to communicate. Communication is key for everything. Um, but you asked about finding the right therapist. You have to make sure you sit down and talk to them. You have to also make sure that you trust them. If you don't trust the person that you're talking to, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. Um, you just got to be willing. Um, doesn't matter about the race. I've had a male therapist. I had a male therapist. I had a female therapist. I had a Caucasian therapist. My therapist now is actually younger than me. He's younger than me, and he's African American. Um, but I don't know how he made me trust him. Honestly, I still can't figure it out to this day. But there's things that I talk to him about. I'm like, did I really just say that to him? And you have to find a place of where it's judgment free. You have to find a place where it's judgment free, where you trust. So.
And I also heard you say, you have to be ready to go to therapy, and you have to
Yes.
be willing to be honest. Therapy there were some days where I was like, I don't want to talk to this lady because she finna tell me about myself, and I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And there were other days where, we would get off the phone and I would just be in shambles. And I'm like, therapy is supposed to help me,
Mm-hmm.
not have me laying on the floor crying, all this
Yep.
other stuff. And so I think what you said is really important. You have to be ready and willing to be honest with your therapist. So it's interesting that you said, it doesn't matter the person's ethnicity. I've always been a strong advocate for wanting to work with a person of color, specifically for me, a woman of color. But, it's sounding like you didn't really see much of a difference between your experience with your, white therapist versus your African-American therapist. Is that accurate?
It's accurate. I didn't find much difference. It was
Mm.
me. I was the issue.
Yeah.
I was the issue because I wasn't ready. I wasn't
Yeah.
ready to deal with the things that I'm dealing with now in therapy.
Mhm.
I was not ready back then.
Right.
So
Right. No, that's so good. And I'm hopeful that, those that are listening, there was a series that I did talking about Jesus in therapy. And so, as you all know, if you've listened to any of the shows, I'm a big proponent of going to seek therapy, as well as, praying and seeking God and seeking spiritual counsel. And so I'm really happy to hear that not only did your church community play a large role in your healing journey, but also going to therapy as well. And I think sometimes there are things that happen to us that lead us to therapy. But like, as you said, it kind of brings up all of this stuff that has happened from your childhood that is impacting you today that you don't even realize. So
Right.
yeah, that's important. So can you give us maybe two ways that divorced men can find peace with God's plan for their lives when their marriage doesn't turn out as expected? So thinking about, you get married and it's till death do us part and we're together forever. And then sometimes that just does not work out. So what's like two things that you could say to men to encourage them or help them to find peace with God's plan for their lives?
Um, the first thing I would say was it's okay. It's okay that it didn't work. Everything doesn't work. Um, some things doesn't. It takes a. Sometimes you have to try, get up and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. I think that's a song. Um, so
I think
um,
Evangelist Leah said that. I think that might
yeah,
be.
I think that's exactly who it was.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's what I would tell him. I would tell him that it's okay. Um, I had to realize that it was okay that my marriage did not work. It was okay that I am now raising my son. Me and my wife are co-parenting. Me and my ex-wife are co-parenting. Um, so the word okay has been very important, very important to me. Um, and also the other thing I think I would tell men is that um to try when you're ready. Don't let anybody push you into um doing it again. It's okay if you don't do it again. But it's also okay if you do it again. So that's what I would tell them.
There's two things that I want to unpack there. The first is, that might lead us to some other questions, but that's okay. But you brought up the fact that you are co-parenting with your ex-wife. So how do you navigate those challenges? How do you keep your personal feelings aside? And you're about 10 years out from your divorce, but thinking back to like when y'all first were going through this process and first starting the co-parenting journey, to now, like, can you just kind of walk us through how do you keep your Christian values at the center of your parenting when you're trying to navigate co-parenting?
So my son was two, 3. I think he was about 3 years old when me and my ex-wife when we divorced. Um, that was the most traumatic part of my divorce. Me leaving my son. Um, there were days that I would literally just drive by the house and cry. Honestly, I would cry because it's like I want to go in and get my son. And we weren't on bad terms or anything. At that, me and my ex-wife have always been great parents. We were great parents, but terrible spouse. We weren't good together. That's what me and her say. We say it all the time. We weren't
Right,
good together, but
right.
we're great at raising my son. We
Okay.
have the same values when it comes to raising my son. So we make sure that our values are the same. We make sure that we're saying the same thing.
Mm,
Um, if I'm saying one thing at my house, she's saying the same thing at hers.
yeah.
Um, I'm the lenient parent, I guess you could say. So
Mhm.
sometimes I overcompensate a lot. I know I do. I overcompensate because of me not being in the home.
Mm.
Um so and I think he knows it, so he gets a little more at my house.
Use
I guess
it. Yeah, he uses it a little bit.
he
He sees
uses it
that
a little bit.
opportunity. Yeah,
He
yeah,
does.
yeah,
He does.
yeah.
But he knows how far to go, and I know how far to let him go.
Right,
Um
right.
But so we really didn't have any. I can't really say we had challenges with co-parenting. It's all about communication.
Mm,
Communication is key.
mm.
You got to make sure you're honest. You got to make sure you're saying the same thing when it comes down to raising your child, because you don't want to make them confused.
Right. And I think that's, I think about friends of mine that are divorced, but they're also parents. And then I think about other friends of mine that are not married, but they are essentially co-parenting with people that they're not in relationships with. And, it can be confusing for a child where, okay, when I go to mommy's house, these are the rules and I can't do this, can't do that. But when I go to my dad's house, it's something completely different. And so it sounds like you and your ex-wife were on the same page when it came to your values as parents prior to you all going through the divorce. Is that accurate?
Yes, we were great parents. Yes, yes, our
Mm,
values were the same with
mm.
raising my son. I also have a stepson. He's 22.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I have a stepson. He's 22. So I was there for the first 15 years, about 15 years of his life. I was there.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, I was there. Yeah.
And so, in thinking about maintaining that relationship with your stepson and your son throughout the divorce and the co-parenting and sort of no real challenges there, do you all find, because you talked about communication, do you all find that like, okay, we have to, let's say this situation happened, let's kind of team huddle. How are we going to address this? How are we going to go about handling this? And then like, okay, break, and we stay on the same, like, is that how y'all stay on the same page?
That's exactly how we stay on the same page. If literally, if my phone rings and her numbers come up, I know it's something dealing with my son. And
Okay. Yeah.
we get on the phone, we talk about it. Okay, this is what we're gonna say. This is what
Mm,
you say, and this is what I will say.
yeah. Yeah.
And we go from there. Yeah.
That's so good. And it's not usual, I guess unusual to find that. Sometimes I think with couples that are divorced, I know sometimes, people might try and unfortunately use children as like emotional damage and collateral and that sort of thing with their spouses. But it sounds like that's not been your experience at all.
Never. That has never been my experience. She never tried to use my son against me or anything. My son could be with me whenever he wants. He knows
Mm,
that. She knows it. So that has never been an issue.
that's great.
So.
That's a real blessing. And I think,
Hmm.
I think that's such a huge blessing because, again, that's not everybody's testimony. Can you just share maybe just some words of encouragement to men that are listening that are that are doing the right thing as fathers and want to do the right thing by their children, but, situation and circumstances, whether it's the mother or the court systems, are just kind of making it a little bit more challenging to do that. Can you just share maybe two words of inspiration or encouragement to them?
I would keep trying and don't quit. Um, because eventually your child is going to come back and
Mhm.
they're going to ask questions and you'll be able to tell them I didn't quit. I didn't stop trying. But because even though sometimes you do get a strain, it's always going to be that time that they're going to come back. So I would tell them to keep trying and don't quit.
Yeah, I love that. I think as a child, depending on your age, I guess no matter your age, as a child, sometimes it's just hard to understand
Hmm.
and to just know that, even though it might appear like your parent has quit, just to know that like, nope, don't quit. Keep trying, keep going. I can imagine that could be really helpful and comforting to a child. Um, and there was another sort of part to your answer of advice as far as like not really allowing people to rush you back into a relationship, back into marriage. It's okay if you don't want to get remarried. Courtney, let's unpack that a little bit. Let's talk about that. So, my friend Courtney, we know each other for how long? Probably about 2 years.
About 2 years, yeah. About two,
About
three
two,
years, yeah.
about 2, 3 years. So I didn't know you were divorced until I think recently. Maybe a couple more than like maybe a year, I'd say.
Hmm.
Something like that. But in any case, what are your thoughts on like as someone who's been married, like you've been there, you've done that. Are you open to marriage again? Like, I don't know the answer. I'm just asking it for the people. Are you open to marriage? Like, what's your mindset? Because I feel like here's where I'm going with this question. I feel like in church, specifically with older single men, we can stereotype and stigmatize them so much because they're single. And for you, your singleness is a choice, right? Um, And so I just want you to talk about sort of unpacking that a little bit. Like, what's your choice behind being single? And are you open to kind of, maybe potentially trying again?
So me being single is definitely my choice. um, it's definitely something that I've chosen. And I've chose it for a couple of reasons. The first reason, I want to be healed and ready if I ever decide to get into another relationship. Um, I want to make sure that Courtney knows who Courtney is. And Courtney could take care of Courtney before he could even start to take care of somebody else. Um, there's things that I want to get, that I want to have. So that's where my focus. That's where my focus is at right now. Um, Now, am I open to dating? I'm open to friendship. I'm open to friendship. The door is opening a little bit to dating. Dating
Felt as
comes with a little bit more commitment and stuff like that. And I'm not there yet. That I could
yeah,
say, Courtney's ready to commit to somebody. I'm not
right,
I'm not there yet.
right,
But I am open to friendship.
right. There
Absolutely.
you go. Friendship is the best
Friendship.
ship
It's the
outside of
best
fellowship.
ship. Absolutely.
No, and I think that's important, right? Like that ties back to being honest with yourself, right? I think sometimes men might feel, or even women might feel rushed to be married again because I don't want the people in church talking about me, I don't want rumors starting about me. And so I think sometimes people might jump into relationships or back into marriage when they're just not ready.
Hmm.
And I think it's important that you are very upfront, because I feel like the first time I might have mentioned, like, oh, Courtney, I think I might have somebody for you. You're like, no,
Sure
no.
did. Sure did.
And it's like, wait, what? What's happening? What's going on? But I feel like that's important to have such a healthy boundary, and to feel comfortable expressing that boundary. Um, where, for the men that I'm gonna ask this question, for men that are choosing to be single after being divorced, can you give them some words of wisdom, two nuggets on how to maintain their salvation while yet being single?
So you have to be around like-minded people. You have to find you some accountable friends. Um, you have to be honest with yourself when you need help, when your flesh rises, because we
Mhm.
are human. And as a man, my flesh rises. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't,
Right.
but I have, I have friends that I could call and
Mhm.
be honest with. I'm having a
Mhm.
moment. I need somebody to talk to.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
just like that. So you just got to find you a circle, find you a community.
Yeah.
Um, find you a community. Stay active in your church. Um, Whatever you got to do. Anything positive, anything that's not going to make you temptation, raise your temptation. Anything that's
Mhm.
not going to tempt you.
Right.
And you're not going to be perfect. And you're not going to be perfect.
Right.
Then you may mess up,
Mhm.
but you get back up and try and do it all over again. God forgive me. And I'm not giving anybody a pass to go
Right.
out here and do anything, but I'm just saying it. We're human, and things
Mhm.
happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And yes. And I think that's the thing that we don't always talk about in church.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also quick to be like, well, you know, you you made a mistake with this person, this young lady, let's say. Now you got to marry her. Like, you got to make it right. Like, you need to, and it's like, not always, right? Like, we can repent, we can ask God for forgiveness, we can ask God for strength, to overcome this temptation, this mistake. And
Right.
like you said, have people that'll help hold you accountable. And also, I would add to that, not putting yourself in situations or environments where you will be tempted, right?
Right.
If you know me and so that teach Sunday school, we gonna go out to go hang out, whatever, and things happen. Well, maybe I'm not gonna go hang out with Miss Sunday School anymore.
Right.
Like maybe instead of hanging out with her by myself, we hang out as a group from now on.
Yeah.
Not putting yourself in environments or situations where you will be tempted. I think that's also incredibly important. And I think, like you said, you are human, you will make mistakes, but pick yourself back up, get back in your word, get back into doing the things that are keeping you focused on your salvation and focused on leading a saved life. I know that you said the door is open like a half a centimeter right now for when it comes to relationships and being remarried.
Mm-hmm.
For men that are considering remarriage, however, what spiritual and personal reflections should they focus on first? So, if let's say you were talking to you, and this second you is ready to be remarried, ready to be in another relationship, what spiritual or personal reflections would you tell yourself to focus on?
So keep your voice. Keep your voice. Remember who you are. Make sure you achieve your goals as well as helping your spouse achieve their goals. Never forget who you are. Um, and know your role as a husband. Because there's a guideline, the bylaw to being a husband. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a job. It's a job. It's a great job. I would never say it's not a great job. It's a fulfilling job. It's a rewarding job, but it's a very time consuming. It's a very committed job. So you have to be committed to wanting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, keeping your voice, maintaining your voice, being committed, wanting to remain committed, knowing your role, and knowing how to show up in your marriage
Yeah.
and in your partnership is what
Yep.
I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so important, and like you said earlier, if you want to be remarried, if you desire to be remarried, that's okay. If you don't, if you're like, yeah, no, one and done, I'm all set, no, thank you. That's also okay too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to ask as we get ready to wrap up our conversation, I want to just ask you, what are some lessons? And you've talked about, I feel like I've heard some different things that you've learned along the way. But if you could share maybe two specific things with our listeners about what you learned about the forgiveness of God and the grace of God. Because I think sometimes we might think that we failed God when we go through divorce. Like we might think that we failed at marriage and that we have failed God. And I'm curious to know, like, what are two things that you've learned about God's forgiveness or God's grace throughout this journey for you?
I learned that God is sovereign. God is very sovereign. Um, he is very he's intentional because he didn't let me go.
Mhm.
Even though I felt like I wanted to let him go at some points. He didn't let me go. Um, he allowed me to go through the hurt. He allowed me to recover from the hurt as well. Um, so God is just good. He's just good. Yeah.
So good, so gracious. And, I think the key thing is going through the hurt, knowing that you're going to have ups and downs, knowing that there will be hard days, there will be good days. I'm just so, like I said, so happy and so thankful to hear that you are on the other side of this. Um, and I know that there's probably moments in time, where you think about just different things that you had to go through at that point in time. But being on the other side of it, like I just feel like that has to be a relief, and to know that God was with you throughout it all. So
It's a big relief. I honestly didn't think I would be in the place where I am now,
Mm-hmm.
um, mentally or emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and mentally, I was a wreck. Like I could honestly sit here and I was a wreck. I put on a smile. I smiled, but
Yeah.
I was a broken guy who he didn't know who he was. He didn't know where he was going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was trying to find validation and didn't know how to get it and was just searching. Um, so I'm just a I'm a grateful guy. I'm a grateful guy that I even able to sit here and talk to you about it and to say I made it through my divorce. And not even made it through my divorce, made it through my story,
Mm-hmm.
because it's part of my story. And I didn't think I could talk about it. I didn't think I should talk about it
Mm-hmm.
at one point. But when you asked me, I was like, ooh, let me think. And I actually went to Bishop Middleton, and
Yeah.
there has been a couple of other times I went to Bishop and said, Bishop, somebody wants me to speak here and do this. Absolutely not. um, but when I told him about this, um, he said absolutely, and I know he only gave me absolutely because he sees the growth. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't before he I wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready. I would have talked about what I've been through, and I probably would have bled all over the people and would have caused more harm,
Mm-hmm.
more harm. And that's what people do now. They cause more. Sometimes people cause more harm than help. Sometimes you just have to wait.
Right.
And I'm just glad that I waited, and I'm glad that I'm able to sit here and talk to you now. So
Yeah,
thank you.
so thank you. And it's really powerful to know that you have the opportunities, but the power in saying no, because of where you are at, and because you know that I'm not quite where I need to be on my healing journey to be able to effectively help those who I would be speaking to. And so I think that's, first of all, shout out to Bishop Middleton. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of the ministry. We love him and Lady Middleton. Um, but also to the wisdom behind that, the spiritual wisdom to see, you're not quite there yet.
Mhm.
And also your spiritual submission to even go to your leader, and also to hear your leader and to listen to your leader and say, okay, cool, not ready yet, great, okay, fine, I won't say yes. Before I let you go, um I wanted to know if you could talk to yourself before you got married, is there any advice that you would have given yourself, anything that you would have said, or done differently, like before you got, as you're getting ready to get married and all that other fun stuff, like anything that you would have said to help you kind of prepare for marriage, or I guess better prepare for marriage?
I would have I would have healed. I would have went through I probably would have went to therapy first.
Mm,
I would have went to personal therapy first.
mm,
Um and deal with some of the stuff that I experienced before I got married, because
mhm.
I allowed some things in the marriage that I shouldn't have. And that was because I didn't know.
Mhm.
You're held accountable for what you know. There's a lot of things that happened in my marriage that I didn't honestly I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to maneuver,
Right.
maneuver. So I would tell myself to be a communicator,
Mm.
to say what I need to say, and it's okay
Yeah.
if you disagree, but to also don't leave that disagreement, um and not fix it.
Right.
um
Right.
you have to fix it. um don't go to bed angry.
Right.
um and to just I think I said it before, um not to lose my voice, to always keep my voice.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I feel like I don't go to bed angry. I might go to bed annoyed. Maybe not angry. No, but I think, you know, I think just being able to disagree and be like, I'm not comfortable. I feel like I'm working through and have worked through being a people pleaser through therapy. And I understand where that comes from and how that manifests itself in my life as an adult. And there are times when I have disagreements with you know, my fiance, and being engaged is very different than being married. So I will absolutely acknowledge that. However, I've learned in this relationship that a disagreement um, does not always mean that, you know, like I need to speak up for myself and I need to share and express, like you said, communicate how I'm feeling, even if I disagree. I feel like because I used to have people pleasing tendencies, I would just, okay, yeah, no, that's right. No, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. Everything's great. When inwardly I'd be like, you know, I don't really kind of like the way that you just said that or that you just said that. And so what we've been really good at doing is, like you just said, having those disagreements, but it's never disrespectful. And we always have been able to come to an understanding at the end of it. Like you might have that perspective and I have my perspective, but I understand where you're coming from and you understand where I'm coming from. And after this disagreement, like that's it, we put a bow on it and we're both good. Okay, now we move on. And so I think, like you said, maybe going to individual therapy first. I really think that has helped me because I can't imagine going through this journey of becoming married, having not gone through therapy. And same for him. So I really appreciate you saying that.
Yep.
So, Courtney, we've come to the end of our conversation. It's been so great. You
I
made it.
know. I did. I made it through.
You made it through. Woo, woo, woo. Courtney did so great. Y'all make sure that you stay connected to Courtney. Courtney, can you let us know? I should have asked you to put this in the private chat. In fact, why don't I do this now? If you could type in the private chat how we can stay connected with you. I know that you do have an event coming up, so I'm going to get that flyer posted up in a hot quick second. But while I'm doing that, if you could please post in the private chat for us where we can stay connected to you at, and then I'll post that on the video, and then I'll have you that. But yeah, I thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for your transparency.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact,
Thank you for
Courtney,
thinking about me.
this is not your first time on the show. Actually.
No, it's not. No, I was on the Battle of the
Sexes.
Battle of the
Yes.
Sexes. Yeah.
Yes.
It was a great time too.
It was great.
I was nervous there too, but I had a great time.
You couldn't tell that you were nervous. It was so good. If you're listening to the podcast or watching the Facebook Live, we did not go on Facebook Live for that one. And boy, oh boy, should we have, because that was a good one. And I did not record a podcast episode. That was an exclusive. You had to be there. So y'all missed it. But you know, we might do it again. I don't know. We'll see. But Courtney, can you tell us about anything that you have coming up? And then let us know how we can stay in touch with you. So what you got coming up, Courtney?
Absolutely. So my birthday is actually in a couple of weeks. January 17th is my birthday. I'm having a birthday service. It's going to be at 21 Persian Street. Flyers on the screen. I have Bishop Mark House from Atlanta coming. But not only is it my birthday, I'm also launching a ministry called A Safe Place for Us. A safe place for us is going to be a place for men to come and have a safe place to talk. We're going to be meeting once a month. It's a support group for men. It's something that God placed on my heart a few years ago to do. And every year I always get discouraged, but I said I was not going to go into 2025 without launching this and doing this. So I am launching my LLC, A Safe Place for Us. The motto is we're here to help. So keep a lookout for me. Keep a lookout for your events that I'm going to be having. I will be doing support groups on Friday nights once a month. The place, I'm not sure yet. I'm still working on that. But just keep me in prayer. And send your brothers. Brothers, come out. I promise you it's going to be a safe place. It's going to be a place of healing. It's going to be a place of no judgment. It's a place just for you to come and talk. We need a place to talk. If I had a place to talk years ago, I went through what I went through. And that's why I want to do this. I want to help brothers not go through what I went through. So.
Yeah. Oh, Courtney, I'm so proud of you. I said it before. I will say it again. First of all, Courtney snagged me. Courtney, what service was this at? Because it was almost a year ago, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was probably in the summertime when I was planning this. Yeah.
Courtney cornered me in the service. I was like, I need to get on your calendar. January 7th, put it on your calendar. January 17th. I said, January. It's like, yeah, because you be busy. He's right. Absolutely right. So, yes. And sure enough, I had somebody else reach out to me about something that week. And I said, not the 17th, because I'm going to support Courtney, because I am so, so proud of you. It is so important for men, especially Black men, to have safe spaces where they can just go and they can just be. And I am praying that God's continued favor over this ministry, that he continues to lead you, guide you, give you wisdom, give you financial resources to just exceed the vision that you have for it now. And I'm believing that it is going to be so. We'll play this clip at an anniversary celebration where we are talking about all the wonderful things that you have been able to accomplish and how you've been able to really support and just change men's lives. So thank you, Courtney, for saying yes and for putting this on. Please tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we stay up to date with all things for your ministry and for you?
So I have a Facebook page. This is my name, Courtney Wright. You can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page for my safe place, A Safe Place for Us. You can also type that in and you'll find that there. Those are the pretty good 2 ways you could contact me. I'm working on getting the Instagram work up and running for the Safe Place for Us. So that should be up and running soon as well.
Awesome. Very good. Excellent. Y'all make sure that you stay connected to Courtney. He's doing some amazing and wonderful things. Ladies, if you are listening, remember, Courtney is about the friendships right now. Okay. So don't be trying to slide in my friend's DMs. All right. Because I will hear about it. And
I mean, you could slide.
No, Courtney.
We could be friends.
We could be friends. Look. It's some single Christian woman that's like, I'm gonna play the long game. Courtney think we just gonna be friends now. No. All good, Courtney. I love you. I appreciate you.
I love you too.
If you would please, can you pray us out? And if you would please pray specifically for men who are divorced, who might be struggling with, being a divorced man, who might not want to get remarried, might want to be remarried, but really those who are just really struggling, who are at the point where you were once at. If you could just specifically pray for them and their encouragement and their healing as you pray for us. Once you're done, I'll officially say good night to y'all, goodbye to y'all. But Courtney, we're in your hands for the closing prayer.
Lord God, it's me, God, first coming to you, Lord, to say thank you, Lord. Lord, thank you for the time of fellowship between myself and Dr. Jaria, God. God, thank you for the opportunity to give my heart, God, to speak to the men, God, to speak to everybody, God. God, but thank you for opening the men ears, God, to need wisdom, God, on dealing with divorce, God. God, divorce is not an easy thing, but sometimes it's a thing that happens, God. And God, give the men the understanding to know that it's okay, God. It's okay that you went through it, God, but you will make it through it, God. God, give the men the wisdom to know that if you want to do it again, to try to have an open heart, God. God, give the men the wisdom to understand, God, that it's okay to want to be single, God. It's okay to want to take time for yourself, God. It's okay to want to heal, God. God, give us the men the wisdom, God, to heal like never before, God. Give this in this season of 2025, God. God, open the doors to the men, God, to give them a place to retreat, God, when they need help. God, give them a place to know that it's okay to cry, God. God, it's okay to pour out your heart to him, God. God, give the men the wisdom, God. Give them the understanding, God. God, and give the women the understanding, God, to be there for the men, God, because we need that, God. God, and if there's anything I fail in asking, do not fail in giving. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Courtney. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I am again your host, Dr. Jaria C. Aljoe with Jaria Shanae Ministries. It is Jaria C. Aljoe on almost all social media platforms. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You can also connect with me at jariacaljoe.org. Dig Deep is part of Jaria Shanae Ministries, where our mission is to provide you with practical applications for spiritual and educational growth. I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to be connected with you, and let's continue to dig deep in our relationship with God. I'll see you on the next episode coming up soon. We have some great topics in the new year. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to season 6 of Dig Deep, Conversations with